Okay, Deputy Catherine Connolly, I think is next.
Hi, Hurley. And Minister, I'm following up on a previous question, questions in relation to Park and Ride. And I'm asking very straight question in relation to the progress to date, in relation to the rollout of Park and Ride facilities in Galway, the status of the ongoing detailed site options analysis and feasibility studies, are, if done. Minister, I can't emphasise, and I know I'm preaching to the converted, but there is no progress in relation to the rollout of Park and Ride, objectives that were put into the City Development Plan in 2005. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much indeed. As outlined to the Deputy in previous replies on this matter, the National Transport Authority has established a Park and Ride Design Office which works with Galway City and County Council and Irish Rail. The focus of the current work of the PRDO, Park and Ride Design Office, is looking at options and the feasibility of zones along the corridors for the east and northeast serving the city centre and Parkmore. The areas currently being considered include the zones adjacent to the Coola roundabout and junction 19 on the M6, and locations on the N83, the Old Dublin Road and on the R339, and supporting additional Park and Ride facilities at Aire rail station. Detailed site options analysis and feasibility studies are ongoing for each of the areas identified. The PRDO has undertaken site visits to the area and topographical drone surveys of the lands in the zones identified have been carried out. These surveys give detailed information on the physical characteristics of the area, which help identify any potential constraints and inform the preliminary design and layouts of the proposed Park and Ride developments. Other information such as ecology, archaeology, land title searches, flooding information, data, traffic data analysis and public transport capacity information are being utilised in a multi-criteria analysis to determine the preferred sites to bring forward to planning. The development of the particular sites will be aligned with the delivery of other supporting infrastructure, in particular bus corridor infrastructure, with the view to bringing sites forward for planning in the later half of this year. The appropriate planning consent process will be determined on a site-by-site basis.
Thanks, Minister.
I read the question because, as I say, it's one of the advantages sometimes of being in the chair. I'm standing here, okay. The objectives were put in the City Development Plan in 2005 by the councillors, and Minister Loughlin was there at the time, and it was positive and it was proactive, and we recognised that it was important. Yesterday or the day before, we saw the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel, the climate change analysis again, with terrible, terrible consequences if we don't take action. And I'm looking at a National Transport Authority. Now, they were involved in the transport plan in 2016. They were fully aware at that point that no action had been taken from 2005. Your letter today shows me some progress has been made, some in relation to the east side of the city. The west has been completely forgotten. In previous answers, I have them all here, they were looking at sites both east and west. They're the objectives in the plan. And here we are, 2022, from 2005, and not one single site identified for Park and Ride as the traffic congestion in Galway worsens.
Thanks, Deputy Minister.
Deputy, I share with you the concern about the speed of development of a whole range of different transport, sustainable transport solutions particularly. And I hope, without being controversial, with no disrespect to anyone in Galway, I think Galway is probably our biggest worst case example, our biggest problem when it comes to sustainable transport. We see a city which has developed hugely successfully, but in an unsustainable transport model, one which I think very much prioritises or promotes individual car-based transport system. No blame or fault to anyone who has to use that, but it becomes completely unsustainable when you get a certain level of traffic, and that's where we're at in Galway. I think we need to accelerate some of the sustainable transport solutions in Galway. I think particularly of some of the active travel and the bus connects infrastructure that would help use such infrastructure here, and also the likes of the development of the Aire railway station we mentioned earlier on. And I think it has to be that integrated approach. The Park and Ride has to be part of a wider sustainable transport solutions. I believe we should have bike and ride, or bike parking is going to be a significant potential, particularly to rail and bus stations, particularly with new electric bikes. There's a capability of rethinking how our cities and rural communities work. And I do believe we need to accelerate not just the park and ride, but critically in my mind, the active travel infrastructure and the bus travel infrastructure that need to go with it as part of an overall
Minister.
solution.
Yeah, Deputy.
Minister, honestly, I fully agree with you. But we're beyond all of that. We did this in our time as councillors. We asked for an integrated traffic solution. All of the eggs were put in the basket of the outer bypass and nothing was done. When I read this, we're still talking about some distant time in the future, and the west of the city is gone off the record altogether. Of course, park and ride is only one feature. Cycling is only one feature. Light rail is a feature. Using Oranmore and Athenry and increasing the frequency of trains are all features. The most frustrating thing is Galway is a city destined to grow. Its natural beauty we can't destroy. Thanks be to God, we've a beautiful city. But we've certainly messed up the planning and continue to do it. We don't have a city architect. We don't have an overall master plan for the city that's a plan for the common good. And we have no recognition of the urgency of lifting traffic off the road, given sustainable alternatives. You cannot complain about motorists without giving sustainable motorists, and no recognition of the urgency of that in view of the climate change emergency.
Thanks,